It was a Bear week on the football market as the Chicago Bears beat the Steelers last week in Chicago. Now the Buffalo Bills come to Acrisure Stadium for a 4:25 showdown on the North Shore. We have all the latest on this matchup coming up. You are watching Steelers Kickoff. It's live right here on KDKA TV.
Welcome to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
Oh yeah, it's a game day. A live look at Acrisure Stadium, the site of the Bills and Steelers today with a special 4:25 kickoff here on KDKA TV. Jim Nantz, Tony Romo will have the call on the prime game of the afternoon slate. Welcome across the river here in the KDKA TV studios for another edition of Steelers Kickoff. I'm Bob Pompeani with the quarterback of the program, Mr. Charlie Batch. Rich Walsh and Jerry Dulac are also standing by. We'll get to them in a second. On Thanksgiving night, though, a big AFC North matchup. The Cincinnati Bengals got Joe Burrow back, while Lamar Jackson still looking like something's missing there. It seems like the door is open for the Steelers on this day as Baltimore drops back to 6-6.
This is a game right here where you see what happened on Thursday night. It gives you all the fuel and the momentum needed as you head into today's game, knowing that it's a must-win game.
Well, we received the news on Friday afternoon. It's big news after just one missed game due to injury. Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers is expected to start today against the Bills, although he will be wearing a brace and he did sustain multiple broken bones per multiple media reports. Rodgers says he definitely wanted to play against the Bears, but he was not able to make it last week. Make it happen, so he was a full participant all this week, and head coach Mike Tomlin confirmed that his starter would be back in the lineup after Friday's session. So, Charlie, considering Rodgers' injuries, do you think the Steelers are going to change their game plan at all to protect him? Handoffs, how difficult is that? And also handing off using his left hand.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue for me as I watch it, especially early in the game. Can he take a snap? How does that jar from this ball impact that wrist? And ultimately, can he hand the ball off going to the right as he extends his left arm? We'll see that very early. And if he can't, expect a separate game plan, meaning a lot of shotgun and the game being played in that particular formation.
All right, for more on the Aaron Rodgers situation, we head across the studio. Rich Walsh is standing by with that. Hey, Rich.
Hey, Bob. Aaron Rodgers wasn't thrilled to miss another chance to play in Chicago, but he understands why he was held out. He also doesn't believe that this team is in a bad of a spot as fans and people outside the organization think.
Yeah, for sure. I'm always wanting to play, and there's been very few times that an injury's been significant enough to keep me off the field. So that was definitely disappointing, but, also being in Chicago. But it is what it is. And they start playing the right way this time of year. I think sometimes injuries play a part in that. We've been pretty fortunate for the most part to not have a ton of major injuries to starters, but you start to play the right way. And we got good opponents on the schedule, the last 6. We have 3 division games, so there's a lot in front of us.
All right, now I'm joined by our Steelers insider, Jerry Dulac. Jerry, so do you think that Rodgers will be limited at all, or can he simply just play through this type of injury?
Rich, what I've been told is that he shouldn't be limited other than some of the things that Charlie talked about, maybe with handoffs and some snaps, but for the most part, I'm sure you're going to see him in a shotgun. It's just a question of how comfortable he becomes, especially during pass rushes. Will he get rid of the ball quick? Will he try to protect that wrist when the pressure is coming on? So I think that's the biggest thing, getting him comfortable with that wrist and seeing how he performs early on.
Might see a lot of pistol today. Rodgers might have to look DK Metcalf's way more, but things haven't been good for the offense when the receivers are targeted. Look at this breakdown. Last 3 games, Steelers receivers were targeted 44 times, only 24 completions. That's only 55% compared to 84% when they target tight ends. Now, Jerry, is that just disparity, just a reflection of their scheme, or are the wide receivers just not getting open enough?
Well, Rich, quite naturally, most of the targets to the tight ends are short yardage throws, with the exception of Pat Freiermuth. We've seen Aaron Rodgers go down the field to Pat Freiermuth. We saw Mason Rudolph do it once against the Bears as well. But for the most part, those passes to the tight ends are usually within 10 yards. So quite naturally, those targets are going to have a higher completion percentage as opposed to the wide receivers. But I don't think there's any question, Rich, that the wide receivers aren't getting open enough. They don't have those kinds of guys who come out of their breaks like that. The one guy who does and who has been open is Roman Wilson, and I'm still waiting to see him be more involved in this attack.
All right, good point. Not only a fractured wrist, let's not forget weather could be a factor with today's offensive attack, guys.
Yeah, always a factor late in the season like this. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. We're going to check back in with you a little later in the program. Now it's time for a Hyundai by the numbers from last week's game against the Chicago Bears. And despite the loss, the Steelers had better numbers in many statistical categories, and it suggests the team should come out top when you get these numbers here. Offensive plays, time of possession, rushing yards, first downs. The teams had the same number of turnovers, so that was not an issue. Charlie, are those numbers maybe a sign that this offense can sustain more drives, especially against teams like the Bills? Keep them off the field.
Yeah, it's one thing to talk about it, but yet when you actually go out there and perform in that particular manner, now you sit back in front of the group and say, guys, we know we can do it. Why? Because we proved that we can do it this week. Now they just have to do it continuously, and ultimately that helps your defense and gives them a rest, a much-needed rest, because these guys have been on the field a lot more. So expect what the formula they use in Chicago to use here today against Buffalo.
All right, let's take a quick look at the standings after a very interesting game on Thanksgiving night in the AFC North. Joe Burrow's return to the lineup worked out for the Bengals. They stole a road victory over Baltimore as the Ravens, as I said, fall to 6-6. The Steelers are now back in first place for the time being at 6-5. The Bengals are nipping on the heels of both teams now. They have a North record of 4-8. But they have the best record in the division of 3-1, and that might come into play as we get closer to the end of the season. Remember, they were in the same boat last year, and they finished with 5 straight wins. We're just getting started here on Steelers Kickoff. Earlier in the week, Rich had a chance to talk to third-year linebacker Nick Herbig. We'll have that interview coming up next.
Welcome back to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
All right, welcome back. You know, Alex Highsmith is set to make his return today to the lineup for the Steelers, but his backup has been keeping a level of consistency at that position. Nick Herbig has made some big plays when it's mattered most this season. Rich Walsh got a chance to speak with him after practice on Friday.
Quite the journey. It's snowing right now. It's not snowing in Hawaii. How did you go from Hawaii to Wisconsin?
Oh, man. That was a journey, you know. I think they were one of my first offers, and all I knew was that they had a couple dudes in the league, like obviously JJ and TJ and whatnot. And one of my best friends had told me to take a visit there. And I took a visit. I loved it. And I committed on my visit.
6.5 sacks this year, you know, and not a full-time starter. You know, what kind of player are you to be able to do that? Not part-time, but almost in a rotational situation.
I think that's just who I am, like how my dad raised me, you know, how I grew up. Just staying ready, being ready. You never know when you're going to get your chance. And obviously, I love TJ and Alex. We have a great room. Jack, like, great coaches. Coach Denzel believes in me with everything in him. So just having that kind of support around you and knowing, like, when you get in the game, everyone believes in you and they know that you're going to provide for the team. I think that's great, you know, just being able to have that type of people around you.
Is this a place that you want to see maybe your career end or sign another deal here? I mean, you still have another year left, but you've developed into a pretty good player being with these guys here.
Yeah, I mean, man, I just want to win. Like, I'd love to bring a Super Bowl to Pittsburgh. I'd love to win games here. I'd love to be a Steeler my whole life. Like, I love it here. I love the fans, love the coaches, love the atmosphere, the city. Like, it's everything you dream about when you're a kid.
Love the weather? Yeah.
It doesn't bother me.
Meli Kaliki Maka. That's Hawaiian for Merry Christmas. It's coming up. Maybe you can have a few more gifts. So Charlie, let's talk Herbig here. Would you think he'd be a starter on a lot of teams around the NFL? It's sort of a luxury. How big of a luxury is it for him to come off and be in this rotation for the Steelers?
Yeah, this is big. And when you look at just everything that Nick Herbig has been able to do, could he start on a couple teams? Absolutely, he can. But the way that he is building his resume, learning behind TJ and Alex, this guy's becoming a threat. Like Rich mentioned in an interview, 6.5 sacks in a limited play, then this guy is actually making impactful plays the moment he is on the field. And this is the true meaning of when you have a starter and a starter in waiting. Nick Herbig has done a tremendous job of making sure that he is ready for when his number is called upon to make an impact on his defense.
Yes, drop off, not much of
not at all
without him being without Highsmith at times, and that's a good sign. When we come back, Rich Walsh returns with a preview of the Buffalo Bills, the injured Bills. We'll talk about that next. That should get you ready for a big game day here in Pittsburgh. The Steelers and the Buffalo Bills at Acrisure Stadium for a pivotal AFC matchup here on KDKA. Rich is going to be over the stadium for this game later this afternoon, but before that, he has a look at these Buffalo Bills. Rich, what do you see?
Bob, the Steelers welcome a familiar foe to Acrisure Stadium later today with the Bills. Despite not being divisional foes, this will be their 5th meeting in the past 6 years. The Bills have had the upper hand recently, although just one of those 5 games was played here in Pittsburgh.
After starting the season with 4 straight wins, the Bills have been up and down over the past month and a half, and they were mostly down last week in a loss to Houston.
You know, we've had some good, had some bad throughout the year. You know, I think there'd be a lot of teams that are wishing that they were 7-4 in a spot that we are.
Reigning MVP Josh Allen certainly hasn't been the problem. He's having another good year statistically, despite a poor surrounding cast of receivers. Allen has faced the Steelers 4 times over his career. He's won 3 of them and is the obvious focus for Mike Tomlin's defense, even when he's not throwing the ball.
You know, when he chooses to pull the ball down and run, you got to be really conscious of what you do schematically in terms of how you rush him and how you support that rush with the coverage behind it. Because again, his ability to extend plays without negativity, his ability to break you down with his legs, certainly we've seen over the course of this season, and certainly we've seen firsthand over the course of his career some of the games that we've been in against him.
Partially because of Allen, but mainly thanks to tailback James Cook. The Bills lead the NFL in rushing yards, with Cook averaging nearly 100 yards per game. Defensively, the Bills are a conundrum. They are tops in the league with the fewest passing yards allowed, but are 30th against the run. And no team in the NFL has allowed more rushing touchdowns this season. But they have been a disciplined group. Their defense has been called for the fewest penalties of any team this year, averaging just 5 yards per game.
Well, Josh Allen has put up huge numbers this year, but he's been a different player at home versus the road. Taking a look at today's South College game plan, he's thrown for over 70 yards more per game at home, and his touchdown to interception ratio is vastly different overall. The Bills have a losing record in games not played in Buffalo, but Allen won't have his 2 best offensive linemen today, which is a huge problem for that offense. Both Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown are ruled out. But Jerry, the Steelers also are missing a tackle. Broderick Jones is out not only this game, but was placed on IR and will miss at least a month, right? What happened? Will we see him back at all this year? And how big of an issue is this for Rodgers and the Steelers offense?
Rich, Broderick Jones will not play the rest of the season. I've been told, you know, he was kind of a freakish kind of incident and how he got hurt in Chicago. But he is going to miss the rest of the regular season. He's going to have a bit of a recovery going forward, and that's a big loss, of course, for the Steelers. I've been told that Andres Pete will likely step in and be his replacement, but Broderick Jones's progress has been on the upswing. He's been very good. It's a big loss for the Steelers.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Now, turnovers will be a key today. The Bills have a tendency to turn the ball over more on the road. They've had 3 in each of their last 3 games, and at least 2 in 5 of their last 7 road games. And when they are 1-4 when they turn the ball over at least 2 times, guys.
That's always a big part of it. Thank you, gentlemen. As we get ready for this game, let's take a quick look at the early AFC playoff picture before the rest of Week 13 here gets underway. This is crazy. The Patriots, Broncos, Colts, and Steelers lead the divisions. Not many people would have had that foursome there. Right now, the Chargers, Jags, Bills hold the wild card spots, with the Texans, Chiefs, Ravens, Dolphins, Bengals, and yes, technically the Browns and Raiders are still alive. They're in the hunt, I think. So, Charlie, taking a look at that graphic, do you think the Steelers need to win this division outright here, or could there be a path to a wild card position?
Yeah, I think a lot of that depends on right around 7:30. We'll have a better answer to this. If they're able to figure out a way to beat the Bills, then yes, they have that advantage with the Bills on the head-to-head. But for whatever reason, if they don't, that means you now don't have the tiebreaker against the Bills or the Chargers, and now you don't play the Jaguars, Texans, or the Chiefs. So it becomes a difficult road moving forward. So that's why this is an important game here today.
All right, time to send the show to New York City. James Brown is standing by. He has a look at what's coming up today on the NFL Today following our program. JB?
Hey, Bob, up next on the NFL Today later this afternoon, your Steelers play host to Josh Allen and the Bills. We'll preview that one. Our guy, J.J. Watt, stops by to share what's on his mind. Then Browns all-world defensive end Myles Garrett taps in for an In the Pads chat. But first, we'll break down the game between the Texans and the Colts. But right now, coaches, guys, Bob and Charlie, they'll be back when Steelers Kickoff continues right here on KDKA.
Steelers Kickoff is presented by McClellan's Contracting and Roofing. If our name goes on it, we stand behind it, so you can stand in it.
Well, even with the busy holiday week, many of the Steelers were active in the community once again. Guys like Keanu Benton and Nick Herbig took part in the annual turkey giveaway involving all 3 local teams at PNC Park. And despite recovering from injury, Deshaun Elliott opened up a food pantry at Dixon Preparatory Academy in Swissvale. Elliott recently had surgery and gave up an opportunity to give us an update on his injury.
A lot better than I was a month ago. So, you know, I'm two more weeks on these crutches and back to training hard like I always do. I'll be ready for next season. Right now, I'm just trying to push myself as much as I can. I'm back around the team, so that's good. They told me today that they needed my energy, so hopefully I can help them mentally, you know, get back on the horse and be more consistent. So I think we'll be fine. I'm just happy to be back around my team, man. I really am.
Good job by all those guys. Time for Charlie's weekly quarterback analysis presented by Cleveland Brothers. First, let's take a look at Mason Rudolph, the passing chart from the game against Chicago here, Charlie. And the concern all season has really been the last few seasons, the inability or unwillingness to throw the ball down the field or over the middle. And that's exactly what we see here in this chart. Everything to the perimeter, lots of dump-offs or screen passes, not a recipe for offensive success each and every week. So, Charlie, do you expect to see more of the same here, or will things change this week now that Aaron Rodgers is back?
Yeah, I can see things changing there in the middle of the field. But quick plays, I expect the ball to get out of Aaron Rodgers' hand because he doesn't want to take those hits. But a lot of that is going to be dictated on how Buffalo plays them on certain personnel packages, and that allows you to now take advantage of the middle of the field. So that will be a question that will be answered early as the game goes on.
All right, Charlie, also was announced this week that our friend Hines Ward has been named a Pro Football Hall of Fame semifinalist once again. He's been down this road before. He, of course, is on a list of plenty of deserving players from the last 25 years. Do you believe that 2026 will be that year? Super Bowl MVP, 2-time world champ, and one of the best blockers in the history of the game. Does he get the call this year?
Yeah, we hope it is. I mean, this is something we've been talking about for years, and knowing how important and really changing the game that Hines was able to provide and do throughout the course of his career. You hope that this is the year, and if it is, you better believe that Steelers Nation will show up in Canton and celebrate that man because he's worthy of being celebrated.
Changed the rules because of how he played, and that's the biggest compliment I think you can get. Almost out of time here on Steelers Kickoff. When we come back, we will have our predictions for the Bills and Steelers. It's all taking place at Acrisure Stadium later today. Here we go.
Welcome back to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
All right, the Steelers with a big opportunity today. Knowing the Baltimore lost, they could take a 1-game lead if they win this game today into Baltimore next Sunday, and that's a big one. But right now, what do you think about this game? Rich, it's the Bills and the Steelers.
Yeah, no question about it. A huge opportunity. I'm going to start this by saying I'm picking the Bills, but this reminds me a lot of the Colts game. I think the Bills are going to win this, and it's going to be a close one, 27-23, but, you know, or 30-27, something like that. But I think the Steelers have a chance, Jerry. I think they have a chance. I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Bills are the better team, but they got some faults too, and they have some injuries, and maybe worse injuries than the Steelers do right now.
You know, Rich, despite what some people think, I think the Steelers can take away a couple good things from last week's game in Chicago, the way their offense answered every one of those Bears touchdowns. And you look at the defense, too. I know those passes over the middle are irritating to people, but they really slowed that Bears rushing attack. You saw what they did to the Eagles, almost 300 yards rushing. Steelers held them under 100. I don't think the Bills are going to lose 2 games in a row, personally. And I like the Bills in this game, 28-24.
But they did once this year. They did lose 2 games in a row already, and they're 2-3 on the road,
I don't
guys.
expect them to do it again.
Charlie, what do you say?
Yeah, the Bills' issues on that offensive front, I think the Steelers are able to take advantage of that. But also the win is going to be a factor. So whoever controls this line of scrimmage, which I think the Steelers will do, they shock some people. They win this game 26-23.
Tight game. I expect a tight game as well, but I think the Bills also, the Josh Allen factor really makes me think that they're somehow going to pull this out. Even though I think the Steelers should have success running the football, the Bills are not good against that run. The Steelers need to pound it a little bit. 27-23. You're going to see it all unfold here today. We have a busy day for you. It's the NFL Today on KDKA and CBS that's coming up next. Big game after that, the Texans and the Colts at 1 o'clock, followed by Steelers and the Bills. 7:30, make the switch to KDKA Plus. We have Extra Point, a special nightly sports call, and then we'll wrap it all up live with the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown after the late news on KDKA. For all of us here, I'm Bob Pompeani. Have a great Steelers game day, and we'll see you later after the game.